Anne Frank once said, "I think a lot, but I don't say much." Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Eric, and I am an introvert. I know more than I say, I think more than I speak, and observe more than you know. I have a very vivid inner world and rely on my inner sources rather than constantly turning to people for support or guidance. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, tonight I will share with you my experience as an introvert, from my fears of public speaking to the hobbies that have helped alleviate the anxieties and other experiences that have helped shape who I am today. Fellow Toastmasters, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. If you were to close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath, imagine yourself standing on the brink of the highest cliff that you can possibly imagine. You soon begin to lose your footing as you feel strong gusts of wind rock you back and forth. You look down into what seems to be a never-ending fall. How does your stomach feel? How do your nerves feel? This is the fear and anxiety I feel when standing in front of a group of people when public speaking. Growing up as a kid, I would often spend time alone in my room, most of the time behind closed doors. I would always do solitary things like play video games, draw, or simply play with my baseball cards. I have always been quiet and timid as a young boy, and I would always feel overwhelming anxiety when I had to speak in front of a group of people. My first instinct was to avoid it altogether. I always felt safest alone in my room, just my inner thoughts and I. It was not until my later teens when I first joined the workforce in the banking world that I first came across Toastmasters. I had a coworker who was a financial planner who introduced me to Toastmasters. He would always talk to me about it and tell me how much he enjoyed it and that I needed to join to become a better public speaker. I had always wanted to speak like him. He was the type of person who could paint vivid pictures in your mind with the words he used and how he used them. He was a great communicator. Thanks to him, he sparked the interest of Toastmasters in me many years ago. I have always been terrified of joining Toastmasters, and that is the exact reason for which I joined. I have always wanted to be a well-spoken person and have always admired people who are well-spoken and articulate. People who can paint pictures in your mind with the words they say, how they use them. This has always been mesmerizing to me. To me, this has always been art that I wish I could do myself. I have always thought that this was a gift that you're born with, not something that you can actually become. Especially for myself, who has always been quiet and timid, I would always think that this would be an impossible dream for me. I have always been afraid of the spotlight, speaking to groups, or even when I was in high school, I have always been terrified of answering questions in front of class. I was afraid that I would use the wrong words, stutter, or give short, unarticulated answers. I would always dread those moments, and as bad as it sounds, I would even sometimes skip class because of the anxiety of just thinking I had to speak in front of a group of people. After years of just keeping the Toastmasters idea in the back of my mind, I knew that this would be a perfect opportunity for me to face my fears and to prove to myself that I do not need to be afraid of public speaking and that I could choose the daunting journey of one day becoming a great public speaker. So believe me when I say that right this moment, this fear and anxiety is one of me standing on the highest cliff that anyone can possibly imagine. As I grew up, I got into hobbies like baseball and boxing, and that began to help alleviate the anxiety and help me cope. My love has always been baseball. In my early 20s, I got to play on travel baseball team and was lucky enough to have visited cities like Denver, Chicago. Traveling with a group of friends began to help me with my fear of speaking to groups of people. Once I got to know the group, it made it easier for me to speak out loud. I was always known as a quiet guy on the team. Funny enough, my best friend who I met in Little League Baseball is the opposite of me. He's always the life of the party, likes being the center of attention. He is the spark plug for my group of friends. Baseball has always been the center of my life. The best memory I have of playing baseball is the very first time that I visited Denver, Colorado for a baseball tournament. I hit a grand slam to win the game. I can still feel the emotions running through my body, holding back the tears as I rounded the bases, knowing that I had done something I never thought possible, and earning the respect of my team without having to say a word. Playing on this travel baseball team was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I fell in love with traveling. I fell in love with seeing new places, new people. To me at that age, it seemed like every city was a whole new world for me. Traveling changed my life forever. I have met some of the coolest people ever while traveling. I now have friends in many parts of the world because of traveling. I have been blessed with visiting places like Paris, Rome, Venice, Costa Rica, Cayman Islands, most Mexican tourist beaches, and a few other fun places. And this year I'm really looking forward to Ireland. One of my best memories I have of traveling is walking the dungeons beneath the Colosseum in Rome. Just knowing how much history the Colosseum has, it just blew my mind away. I can still feel the texture of the ancient stone walls that help hold up the Colosseum walls. Henry Ford once said, one of the greatest discoveries a man makes, one of his great surprises, is he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do. Tonight I discovered that with determination, practice, and courage, one day I will become a great public speaker, and I will no longer be afraid of standing on the brink of that cliff that I have always been so afraid of. Thank you.